Hey guys, Harrison Graham here. On today's video, we're going to take a look at some Bears draft targets. Now, full disclaimer, I filmed this before the Jalen Carter arrest warrant news, before these guys worked out at the Combine, so kind of just focus on the players and what they could bring, and don't get caught up in me saying, oh, I hope they have a great Combine, because other videos popped up, news dropped, so we had to push this video back to later in the week. So with that being said, enjoy today's show and bear down. What's up, Bears fans? You're watching Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports, and coming up on today's show, some Bears draft targets if they trade down from the number one pick, which I fully expect them to do. And so we're going to break down, I think, 25 players that I'm keeping in mind for that scenario. So let's get to the Bears' biggest needs first. 8 needs that stand out. That's a lot. Edge, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback, running back. Running back's further down, obviously. Corner, linebacker, those are more secondary. But those top 5, defensive line, offensive line, receiver, those are areas you've got to improve this roster. Now, before we get to some specific players, if you want the Bears to trade the number one pick, go ahead and like this video. Hit that like button if you want the Bears to trade down from the number one pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. All right, couple of trade down guys include the guys they would probably consider at number one, and that is Will Anderson Jr. and Jalen Carter. Now, obviously, in these two players' case, you wouldn't trade down super far if you still want to get at least one of these guys, right? Like, if you want Carter or Anderson, you probably can only trade down to Indianapolis at 4. I do think if you're at 4, you're pretty much guaranteed to get one of these two players, because I think 2 quarterbacks will go in the top 3. And then, you're guaranteed at least Carter or Anderson. I don't think you can go further than that, though, to guarantee yourself one of these 2 players. But there is a scenario where you trade down and still get one of these guys, and that's trading with Houston at 2 or with Indianapolis at 4. Now, pick one to draft. If both are available when the Bears pick, who would you like to take? If you want Jalen Carter, type JC. If you'd rather have Will Anderson, type WA. Let me know in the comments section. Next up is Tyree Wilson as we look at defensive linemen first here. Wilson, the edge out of Texas Tech, has been rising up draft boards over the past several weeks, and for good reason. I mean, he was productive his last 2 years in Lubbock, 14 sacks, 99 tackles, 28 tackles for loss, a forced fumble. He's pretty good at stopping the run as well. And what I like about Tyree Wilson is he's just an athletic freak. 6'6", 275. I think he's going to have a hell of a combine. If he interviews well, I think he's probably a top 10 pick. So maybe he's a guy you get if you trade down to like 7, 8, or 9 or something like that. So keep an eye on Tyree Wilson. Lukas Van Ness, the edge out of Iowa, who's been rising up draft boards. I think he's probably more like in the late teens, early 20s, but maybe he moves up higher. We'll see. I think in his case and in Tyree Wilson's case, they're intriguing because they're big enough at 270, 275. They can kick inside, give you a little bit of 3-tech as well, which I think Eberflus would be intrigued by. They can come off the edge. They can play 3-tech and line up on the interior. They can both rush the passer and stop the run as well. Now, Myles Murphy, according to some reports, the Clemson edge rusher, has been sliding down draft boards just a little bit. I saw one draft analyst say he's not a top 50 player for him. Now, that's just one person, but I do think he could slide in round 1. Murphy's a really good run stopper. I think he's limited as a pass rusher right now, so I'd have him a little bit lower than guys like Wilson, but I still like him a lot. I mean, I think if you trade down to like 9 or 11 or something like that, Myles Murphy in that range is certainly worthwhile. Curious to see how he does at the NFL Combine, so keep an eye on that. Let's go to some wide receivers now. Again, draft targets if Chicago trades down from number 1, which seems very, very likely at this point. Talk about the guy everyone seems to want, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, who had a funky college career. In 2020 as a freshman, didn't do much. 2021 was unreal with 95 grabs, 1,600 yards, and 9 touchdowns, including a historic performance in the Rose Bowl. And then in 2022, only played in a couple games and couldn't shake a nagging hamstring injury. Something to consider here with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Justin Fields specifically mentioned him on Pardon My Take about a week and a half ago as a player he'd like the Bears to draft. Now, doesn't mean the Bears are going to, but Ryan Poles did say that, like last year, Justin Fields will be involved in the draft process again this year, which is probably further confirmation that Fields is going to be back. And, if they all come to the conclusion, Flus, Poles, Fields, that they like Jaxon, Smith-Njigba, then I'd say there's a decent chance that they end up going after him. Now, do you want the receiver out of Ohio State? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Would you like to see Smith-Njigba in Chicago? It'd be a lot of fun. Curious to see what you guys think. I would like to see Smith-Njigba or Quentin Johnston catching balls from Justin Fields. I love QJ. I watched him a lot at TCU. He's the top X receiver in this draft, whereas Smith-Njigba is going to thrive primarily as a slot in the NFL. Johnston's probably the best pure X receiver at 6'4", 215, can go up and get it. And he's got really good speed for that size. I think he's going to surprise some people at the Combine with how fast he is. I think he'll run in the 4.4s, maybe even sub 4.4. That might be a reach. We'll see. But he's really good after the catch for a player that size. Occasional drop issue, so that's something to consider as well. But I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to be a really fun player in the National Football League. Now, today's show is sponsored by Athletic Greens. And guys, I've been taking a scoop of AG1 every single day for a while, and I've never felt more energetic. Football season can be draining at times, but I was able to get through the end of it with AG1 with 1 scoop a day. Get that extra push to get me out of bed each morning and get that extra workout in sometimes as well. And now with my morning scoop of AG1, I've been able to get back into my routine. Not only is AG1 helping me get back into good habits, I'm already seeing better digestion as well. Getting my gut health back on track is something I wanted to do here in 2023, and now that's happening with a single scoop every single day. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally could not be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning. Boom, it's done. It's that easy. I also love that it only costs $3 per day. Pretty good deal if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That is athleticgreens.com/chatsports. And check that link in the comments and description of today's video. Improve your gut health. It'll help you support your immunity and give you that energy boost in the morning as well. All right, keep this show on the road with some more draft targets. Jordan Addison, next receiver up here. I've kind of gone back and forth, but I think my conclusion with Jordan Addison is he's probably the safest option for the guys at the top. He doesn't have QJ's size. He may not have, 4.3 type of speed, but he's pretty fast. He's pretty elusive after the catch, and he's just rock solid. Good route runner. I think Jordan Addison is a pretty safe, top 20 type of pick. Zay Flowers, he's been rising up draft boards. He's a little undersized, 5'9" type of guy, but he added 13 pounds of muscle, according to himself, and appears to be ready to go for the Combine. 1,000 yards this past year for Boston College. I think he's a fun player, a guy who's going to be able to consistently get open, and that is certainly someone that you would like to get on this football team. And I think he's someone to monitor closely at the Combine and at his pro day as well. Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. If you want a guy that can just flat out burn, Jalen Hyatt's your guy. Just go get the football downfield. He had an unbelievable season for Tennessee, almost 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns, averaged 19 yards a catch. I mean, a lot of his film is he's just running past guys, so obviously it's not going to be that easy in the NFL, but he's explosive. I think he can add more to his game and be that type of player. Let's go to the offensive line now as we look at some more draft targets. Peter Skoronski, the offensive lineman out of Northwestern, played primarily left tackle in college, but I think he can kick inside and play guard if you need him to. I think he can play right tackle as well. Rock solid in his 3 years in Evanston. His PFF grades this past year were just elite. I mean, great pass blocker, really good run blocker. It gave up just 1 sack, and that's what the Bears need. They need better pass blockers, and Skoronski could do that. I'm not sure what position he'd play for Chicago. I don't know if they would move Braxton Jones or if they'd put Skoronski at right tackle or left guard, but I think he's got the versatility to play a couple of different spots. Paris Johnson Jr., who I think would like to play left tackle in the NFL, but maybe you could kick him to right tackle, or maybe you move Braxton Jones over there. We'll have to wait and see. He's another guy I like. He's got good size. He's a good athlete. I think he fits the mold of what Ryan Poles would like in an offensive tackle, so certainly someone to monitor as a potential trade-down candidate. Now, subscribe to Chicago Bears Now. We have Bears draft content, multiple videos per week here on this channel. We're going to continue to bring you guys the latest Chicago Bears news, rumors, draft, free agency coverage. So don't miss out. Hit that sub button here on the channel. Broderick Jones, the tackle out of Georgia. I think he's a plug-and-play tackle in the NFL. I'm curious to see if teams view him more as a left or right tackle, but I think he can plug in right away and play at a high level on this offensive line. Now, I think right tackle is a position that Chicago will look heavily at in free agency with guys like Caleb McGarry and Mike McGlinchey, but I think one of these guys could step in and play right tackle if needed. All right, next up, go to a couple of interior guys. John Michael Schmitz, the Minnesota center, who really tore up the Senior Bowl. He's my dream center target. I think he's separated himself as pretty easily the best center in the draft. I don't think he'll go round 1, but I think he's a lock for round 2, and I think he's a plug-and-play starter right away, so I would really like to see that happen. Now, the Bears center in 2023 will be blank. Fill in the blank. Who's going to be that Week 1 starter? Let us know in the comments who will be the Bears 2023 starting center. Maybe it's Steve Avila, but I think he'll play guard in the NFL. That's what he played his last year at TCU, but he played some tackle in college, played center for a couple of years. They moved him to guard as a center his last year and had the best year of his college career. And we know the Bears have some interest. They reportedly met extensively with Avila in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Luke Getsy was obviously one of the coaches out there for one of the teams, and Eberflus and Poles were on site as well. So I think that's a guy that they're keeping their eye on. And then 10 other players at a variety of positions that I just want you guys to keep in mind is Pittsburgh defensive tackle Calijah Cancey, Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders, Washington State linebacker Daiyan Henley. He's been rising up draft boards. Kelee Ringo, the Georgia corner, Tyrique Stevenson, a really good athlete, Miami cornerback. These are not all round 1 guys, by the way. Dalton Kincaid, Luke Musgrave, a couple of tight ends. You could throw Michael Mayer in there as well, but I think he's a round 1 lock. Chase Brown out of Illinois, the running back. Kendre Miller, the TCU running back. And then A.T. Perry, if you want to try and get an X receiver later in the draft at 6'5", the Wake Forest the Wake Forest receiver could be a potential option as well. So there you go, 25 draft targets, including Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. Now, after those 2 guys, because I think, the trade down and get one of them is probably everybody's dream, but after those 2 players, who is your dream target for the Chicago Bears in this draft? Let me know in the comments below who is your dream draft target after Will Anderson and Jalen Carter.